11 seconds until you can feel it. And there it is. Coming to you live on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon from beautiful downtown Athens, Georgia. How's everyone doing? Are you ready for another weekly Daily Wednesdays? Because we're going to give you one whether or not you are. What do we got today, Jill? Do we got anything fun to talk about? Maybe exciting?
Oh, yeah, actually. Is Linus the father of Bitcoin?
That's it. That's all we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Cryptocurrency. All day. I'm just playing around with you. Hey, everyone. What's going on? Wrapping up Reaper Super Chosen. Had a couple things taken care of. Had a package show up, as is tradition, on Wednesday. I even have my science scissors quite handy, just in case I need to cut something during the middle of the show. You never know. That could be an actual issue that we face. I don't know. I have no desire to cut anything, so if I pick up the scissors, warn someone. But yeah, we're going to be talking about that little... We're going to be debunking some rumors on this weekly Daily Wednesdays, starting with Linus being the father of Bitcoin. Then I'm going to address the Dak wrote in. Was it Dak?
Yeah.
That sent that in?
Yeah.
This whole universal audio thing that's been going around.
Yes.
And Jill's going to tell you about Linux laptops, a new gaming laptop, a powerful laptop, but it comes at a
Very
price.
powerful.
And we got to talk about something. We got to talk about something that we want to exist, but it might not be at the price it says on the tin. Then we're going to do a victory lap because Raspberry Pi OS is 164-bit.
Yay.
All right. So
Very exciting.
I have no idea what bots will and will not work. That one does. There it is.
Cool. Well, hello, Artherin. Hello, FX Boy Forever. Hello, Matthew Strider. Hello, Gamatron.
I'm going to start calling you that from now on, Frenchie. I mean, Matthew Strider. Remote server is still down. So we got about 8 minutes before we're going to be going live.
Okay. And I'm not getting any music then? Are you playing music?
No, I'm not playing any music. Why would I play music during the show?
Okay.
I'm just playing around with you.
I know. There we go.
There you go.
I will be right back.
Let me go ahead and save that then. AJ Snapshot. Let's get that saved. Boom. And we do have that together. Now, I did post a video, if you are in our Discord, from last night. Anybody wants to go check that out, that is our Filthy Casuals Week 5 practice and map selection. That was a good time. Had by some.
Where is...
You get that balanced in. What are you doing, Jill?
Sonobus. Oh, looking for Sonobus. I lost it because it's so tiny. So there we go.
Now, I had an interesting issue when I was starting up the computers in the studio, which is like one of the stranger things of XFC. If anything ever goes wrong on XFC, you immediately have the like, what? Because you're just not accustomed to this. This is not something that normally happens. It's not part of your daily life.
Yeah.
But there's a small issue that I've seen more than once, probably, and I want to say 3 times in the decade I've been using XFC, as XF Desktop. Sometimes, when I say sometimes, like maybe 3 times, it'll load everything but the desktop. So you'll just be sitting at a blank screen with your launcher at the top or the bottom, wherever you want it. I saw that today on this box.
Okay. Yeah, I usually, when I lose something, I just go down to the taskbar and look at the applications down there, but Sonobus is so tiny on my 1080, a 1080 4K screens that it's sometimes hard to find, so I had to make it bigger. I will be right back.
I'm trying the social media. What should I say? I'm live. Live doing Linux stuff? Maybe. Sometimes. There we go. And just like that, we will do one social media and that will be out. So right before we got started, I had one of these show up. So I get to play around with that. Maybe I'll get to play around with it this afternoon. I didn't realize that was 3.5 millimeters. I have to see what I can do about that. Should be interesting enough. But when XFCE goes wrong, you really don't know what to do. You kind of want to take a picture of it. It's one of those things. Like, But if anything is kind of like it's always been, all you do is you just launch XFCE for desktop. You'll never see the problem again. You will never see it again. So those two are together, and I gotta get a couple of things together. I gotta finish up the OBS guide. I'm gonna show people how to do multi-track audio, which is something I've been meaning to do for a while. Because you'll find yourself, if you're just starting out, learning how to use OBS, and you want to record something, it's all gonna end up on one track. You know, you go back and listen to the recording, maybe your voice is way too loud and the music's too quiet, or you got like an issue like that where you can barely hear the voice over the music. One of the advantages of doing 2 tracks, like I'm doing right now, I think I have 7 tracks I'm recording, is you can go back and fix it in post. Man, people are posting a lot of moon glyphs in chat. What was that supposed to be, Steve? Where did you get that wave from? Your wave is defective. It's quite unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate. Let's get that put together. And time to check some shots. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. There we go. All right. Neat. So yeah, that's what we're going to be rocking and rolling. I want to get that video finished because I want people to make properly balanced videos. They're not going to. No one will pay any attention to it. And of course, right before the show, GitHub went down. So even if I try to do this, we get error code 500. That's not good. So if you Bing suggest anything during this episode, probably won't go through. I don't even know if our voting site's up. Let's see. Okay, so that is up. Showbot's still up, and that's everything from last week. No way to reset it. Let's see if we can Bing suggest something. Can we Bing, Bob? Nay. Big ass voting site test. Negative. No joy, no love. It's quite unfortunate. Aw. That'll be alright. That'll be alright. Wow, it's going to rain for the next 2 days straight. Fascinating. So yeah, don't Bing suggest anything during the show. You know what? Here's what you can do. Just Bing S and @Jill. And we'll get Jill. Jill, you want to keep track of all this? No, I'm just joking around.
What?
show title suggestions.
Oh, yeah.
That's still down. I was making a joke where people could reply you.
Yeah, that's okay. No, that would work.
Nah, it's all right. Let's not. Trust me on this one. Yeah, I don't know.
No showbot. I kind of miss Chatbot.
Well, apparently the relay bot's still up and running, but that's not, that's.
Oh.
So we still have our Twitch, IRC, and Discord integration. That's not a problem.
Okay. Wonderful. Yay.
Oh, man. 20. Jeez, it's over 20 years ago.
Hi, Steve husband.
Steve was trying to use an emoji earlier, and he failed pretty hard.
Oh, yeah. He did the wave and forgot the colon at the end.
Emojis are not hard, Steve. I'm tired of you perpetuating this myth. Well, they should. I mean, it's like a standard. Do we have a wave emoji? No. We got a good thumbs up emoji, though.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen that one in a while.
Made that one a couple of months ago. It's where you take chicken skin and use it as a glove. You ever do that?
Oh, yeah.
All the time? That's the bite me pie.
Do, 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 do. Let's see.
Wave works everywhere. I don't know. I was fascinated. Not fascinated. No, I wasn't trying to do an emoji. Here's what I was trying to do. I was engaged in modern warfare with the Twitter on Android, trying to get a hashtag because it does that silly drop down. You know, if you do a hashtag, Twitter's like, let's do a completely different thing and like try to suggest all these things to you, which none of them, it's me. I'm doing a hashtag of just some bizarre word that no one's going to hashtag on Twitter. And I had to fight with it to get it in there. And if you try to backspace it out, it just bites you every time. It's like, no. So I resorted to not hashtagging the word, going in and manually adding it. Okay, just do that. No hashtags for you. But I did put up some music notes. I want everyone to look at this. I want some parenting advice.
Becco Farm.
This was something that showed up on Reddit this morning. Does anyone see a problem with this? I just noticed my son's gaming PC setup.
Yeah, I needed to zoom in to see what it was. The power cable?
So here's the RTX video card.
Yes, the power cables. Not in the power supply.
And here's the HDMI cable up top, plugged into the onboard video.
Oh, okay. It's a HDMI. See, that picture is not that good. I can't tell.
This is
Yeah. It's hooked up to the onboard video.
that. You know, that kind of looks like an LC connector, but no, I don't think it is. I get what you're saying, Arthurian. I think that is like a breakout for like 3.5 millimeter, judging by the here. You want to do the zoom in and enhance? Here's what I'm looking at. That little bit of pink right there, because of the green and pink color coding. You know. I mean, if it works, it works. But I would question my parenting skills. I would. If that had happened.
Yeah, it can be SPDIF, but those were clearly analog RCA.
Yeah, there's two of them. I don't know. Well, like SPDIF, like on this Threadripper motherboard, I have optical out, which is SPDIF, because SPDIF is just the format. You know, you got SPDIF and you got ADAT, which is just two different ways sending over the same thing. But you have analog SPDIF, and you have, well, how do
digital.
I explain that? It's still digital, but it's digital over copper versus digital over fiber optic.
Yeah. It's not fiber. It was that in between.
Well, it's still used.
Yeah.
That's like...
Yeah, I have a 5.1 system that uses either option.
The when you go up from SPDIF, because like SPDIF can do 2 channels of audio digitally. Then you have ADAT. ADAT can do 8 channels unless you have ADAT set in SMOX. Then at 96 or 192, 196, I think, it brings it down to 4 channels. And then if you want to go completely sideways, once you get into like pro stuff, your SPDIF cables look like this, and it's not SPDIF anymore. It's called AES. But you can interchange AES and SPDIF sometimes, depending. Because AES is basically SPDIF, but better. HDMI to hose. See, that's something I want to exist. I would straight up buy that. Like, I'd have that.
Hey, Jordan.
You know what? You know, as much as I would like to joke about, like, the parenting advice, I'd still be proud of the kid for wanting to put together a computer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think IKEA...
Don't want to be like what my parents did to me when I took apart my Apple II and got spanked.
No. Well, I mean, in their defense, you got caught taking apart your Apple II.
Yeah. But I put it back together and it worked just fine.
I remember the first computer I tore down. I never got it back apart. Never got it back together. It never worked right again. That was a learning experience.
Oh.
Do you think the kid did that? You know what? I don't know. I mean, it's the internet. You know, a velociraptor probably did it. Let's be honest. Or a cat. Let's see. What is the excuse here? My coworker told me he had a gaming PC that he thought had a 1080 in it. It has a... And what? Oh no, that's not the submitter. I completely believe this happens, though. 100% believe this happens. That there's the disconnect. When you think about it, there's the disconnect of like, oh, I bought the video card and it's going to upgrade. I just put it in, and it makes things faster. You can kind of see the little bit of logic behind that, like how somebody might think that. I'm not saying it's correct, but it's a learning moment. All right, I'm going to get something to drink, and we're going to get underway.
Nice. That's funny, FX boy. Doo -doo. So what's everyone up to today? Are you on your lunch break from work or at work? Right in the middle of the day? Oh yeah, Arthur. So this is awesome. I'm going to have to show it to Ven too because I don't think he's ever seen it. This is Locutus of Penguin. Isn't that cute? That was made for me by my brother and sister-in-law for my wedding. I realized I don't think I've ever seen this, shown this mug yet. Isn't it cute? Locutus of Penguin. Yeah, I like it too, Gamatron. It's nice. Special made just for me. I have a shirt of it too. Yeah, you have Boo. Yeah, that's right. Husband's been using it for tea. We don't use it that often because we want to keep it pristine and happy. Yeah, Steve husband. Actually, you know what? I think we do have two of these. One of them I've just got in my collection. But yeah, Boo, he didn't remember because it was so long ago that we got married. He doesn't remember where it came from. So yeah, it was your Kevin and Lynn, your brother and sister-in-law. Yep, over 10 years ago. Yes. Hi, V170R. Yeah, welcome. I think V170R, you've been in chat before. I think. Do. Sounds like a motorcycle. Yes, it does. Yeah, Vin, I was showing everyone my mug. I don't think I'd ever shown this one on LWW. It's Locutus of Penguin. Isn't that cute?
What's in it? It better be Earl Grey.
Just water.
Ah, boo.
But usually Stephen uses this for drinking tea, so.
Okay.
I drink herbal teas because I can't have the caffeine.
Mm-hmm.
But I love good herbal tea.
I do my.
Sometimes I've drank that before in the show.
I always use really dark mugs for my tea. That way they don't look stained.
Yeah, that does. Yeah, the white mugs I just make sure that me and Steve just clean them out as soon as after we use them, and they don't get stained that way. But
hello,
you gotta
Vitor.
keep up with it.
Speaking the Brazilian Portuguese, which is the best Portuguese. The correct Portuguese.
Vitor.
All right.
Oh, that's good. V170R. That works, Vitor.
Well, you see, this is a time-honored trick for streamers. If you ever want the background from a screen name, just read it out as the letters that exist. Then you'll get the backstory of like, oh, no. Let me tell you the origin of my screen name. What's the origin of your screen name, Jill?
Oh, Jill _ Linux Girl?
Yeah, there's got to be a story behind that.
Yeah. For years I was Jillix. And, some people didn't know that the Linux was associated with that. So I just changed it to Jill Linux Girl because there were no other girls using Linux in their name. So that's how that came out.
Now you got a narc on Steve. How did Steve Husband come about?
Oh, well, that's an easy one, and Sven knows this story, but it's because I got him to come and chat, and he just became my Steve Husband, because this is the first LGC is where he got a name for IRC, and it just made sense. Steve Husband, because that was funny. Actually, I think you called him that, and he kept it. So he just used that as his name in chat.
So, Steve, what you're saying is it was assigned to you?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was. Steve is everyone's husband. Yeah, Arthur.
Oh, man. I don't know. Do you think people come out, like, do you start with, like, the creative screen names at first? Like at first, when you think about it, was that like your first choice of like, I don't know, PC Slayer 69 or something like that? Or was that like a resort, something that you gotta like roll over? You'll see people like, say there was like Jill 300 or something like that because Jill was taken.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't get Jill.
That was the thing back in the days of early email services when they would just put numbers at the end of your name. That was annoying.
Fortunately, by all modern
You've got mail.
accounts, I'm the second person on this planet to be called Vin. So
yeah, yours is easy.
I just cruise in
because no one else has
it. Like I get on services that are years old and like, doop, doop, that's gonna be my username, and no one else wants it, so I'll take it.
And I did some looking up my name on Google and whatnot, and all the other Jill Bryants, they're like lawyers or teachers. They're not necessarily into tech. So that was another differentiation.
I was doing good for a while there. There was a company that released a wine called Vinstone from Snoon. That's all the first page of Google was.
Yeah.
I was loving that because guess what? I don't like attention. And so you practically had to get in page 2 to find Vinstone on Google. Unfortunately, that's kind of self-corrected, but.
Oh, thank you, Vitor, for the sub.
Yeah.
So yeah, Vin, that's nice.
There's anything that like slows people down from creeping on you, man. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, my name Jill is very unpopular here in the U.S. It's not a common name. In fact, it's one of the least used named in the U.S. I checked that out because in the 70s there was a few more Jills, but it's a rare name. And when I was younger, I'd always get people saying, "You're the first Jill I met," or "You're the first Jill I know of." So that was cool. And my brother being Jack, that really helped because how many Jack and Jills were there? None.
Now I'm curious. What was the most popular name over the last 100 years?
Well, in my going to school in the 70s and 80s, it was Jennifer. Jennifer Itis was everywhere. And Jennifer. And there were a lot of Michaels and Steves.
That's a common one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any fun. I'm looking at the Social Security site, and I'm not seeing like any fun ones. This is all boring names like James.
Classic names.
Nothing. If this is your name, that's fine. That's awesome. Lisa, Margaret. Nothing's standing
There's Matthew,
out.
Mark, Luke, and John. The people name their kids after the Bible. So
Gary, Nicholas.
Lots of Ryans, lots of Larrys.
Hey, Frank. All right. Go Frank.
Yeah, lots of Franks.
Diane. Zachary? Walter. Have I known a Joan? I don't know. A Cheryl?
Yeah.
Just because I watch Archer. Jacqueline. Lawrence. Brian. Joe. Madison. I've met a Madison before. A Bruce. I don't know if I've ever met a Bruce.
That was my father-in-law's name is Bruce.
All right.
Was Bruce, yeah.
Eugene.
Bruce Reinecker.
Johnny. Philip. Right.
Gerald.
Doris. Ooh. That's a throwback. Joan. Judith.
You know, when I was a little kid, me and my grandmother used to go through like the worst names. Like she would tell me the worst names from her, you know, from growing up. And like this is like, you know, 1906 and 1907. And, you know, she had of the 6 girls in her family, she had the best name, Lillian. Because the other names were just like, you know, just horrible. Pearly May, you know. Oh my god.
I think the strangest one that, like, I had to pull out the ID on the kid, and I mean, this was in secondary school. His name was Damien, like straight up.
Oh yeah. Oh, I had a Damien that actually liked me in school and kept pulling my hair. And this is when I was in 5th grade, and I eventually had to punch him out.
He liked you, but
I
he
actually
really
gave him
didn't
a black
like
eye.
your hair. Maybe he was scared of your hair.
This is someone who he'd been, you know, when we'd be running on the playground, he'd come up and run up and pull my hair when I was running. And then I had long hair, and I would come home bleeding. And my mom and dad are after, you know, several months of this happening, my dad just said, well, just punch him. You know, that's what we did in the 70s. we took care of ourselves because we could. But, you know, I didn't want to hurt anyone, but I had to finally do something about it. And I did. I gave him a black eye. And I got sent to the principal. It was the first time in my life I'd ever been sent to the principal. And I remember shaking and being scared and thinking I was going to get a whooping, because that's what principals did back then. He had his wooden, you know, paddle. And and he just looked at me because I was shaking, and he goes, Jill, did he deserve it? And I said, yeah, he's been doing this to me for like almost a year. And he goes, Jill, you've never been in this office before for, you know, a bad deed, so I'm going to excuse you. And then he called Demetrius, which we called him Damien for short. He called Demetrius in and gave him a you know, reprimand and ended up spanking him. So I was. So he was a good principal. He listened. But I remember, and I found out when I was a little kid, I didn't know he liked me, because that's the way sometimes boys are awkward around girls. And then when I got in junior high, he came up and asked me out on a date, and he goes, you know, I really liked you. That's why I pulled your hair. And that was so sweet. We were good friends after that through high school. So his name was Demetrius, but everyone, he called himself Damien, so it was easier to say. So
you see, and they say romance is dead. It's not.
Yeah, but he's such a nice. He's I'm friends with him on social media.
Oh man, your dad seemed like a very cool cat, Steve.
Yeah.
All right, we got to get on to this, because I got a bunch of stuff to do this afternoon.
Yeah. Yes.
Let's get that going. Let's get the torturous wub music loaded up. If I can find it. It's supposed to be here somewhere. There it is. Shovel Snow later? No. We didn't get any snow. We did.
Oh, you didn't where you're
Well,
at. Okay.
We got the cosmetic snow for that one afternoon. I'm like, well, that's nice to look at. It's melting. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Another friend of mine lives on the other side of you, on the other side of Atlanta, and he got a lot of snow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we didn't get any worth mentioning, but according to the weather, which is changing by the hour constantly, it's just going to rain for the next 3 days straight. So,
oh, okay.
There is that to look forward to. All right, let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to Linux Weekly, daily Wednesday, where we sit back, relax, take that midweek break, talk about some of the fun things going on in the world of Linux, open source, and anything else that we find interesting. That was Jill Bryant, who was regaling us with tales of beating up bullies in school. And as you might know, I'm Old Man Vin, just kind of hanging out. We're doing our things. I got a package before the show started.
Yeah, you did.
I did. It was filled with lots.
You got to show it off.
This is where you got to be careful. You got to make sure you're. It was filled with a bunch of brown paper. I was very excited. I was looking forward to it. I'm like, yes, finally, I can have brown paper. It was very well wrapped. I had to go and get science scissors in order to open it. Because I didn't want to use razor blades.
Damage it.
Yeah, this is what finally showed up. I've been stalking for one of these for quite some time. These are very uncommon. I hate to break this to you kids. This is what a professional sound card looks like. It doesn't blink. It doesn't have gaudy, oversized capacitors on it or anything like that. And more importantly, on the business end, it really doesn't have what you would consider standard audio connectors. So yeah, I'm going to be playing. I'm going to feed this to Jackbox maybe this afternoon, but definitely in the upcoming weeks for an interfacing Linux, because you know what?
Nice.
I've done 2 USB audio interfaces, and I've taken those for the team, Jill. Like, oh,
yeah,
fine.
you sure have.
I'm going to do these, and just because somebody had to. And UNCUT did one for the Scarlett.
Oh yeah.
2i2, I think, Gen 3. So go check out his channel. He did a good job on that, and outside of that, I've installed Router OS 7 on the MikroTik router, so if anything explodes in the network, we'll just blame Estonia for that one, and working on an OBS guide for multi-track audio to kind of simplify that for people getting into recording and streaming. And if you ever had that issue when you get done recording, like just a great thing, and you go back to listen to it, and like the game audio is too loud and you can't hear yourself, or you can't hear the game audio at all, or if you're recording something like, just 2 people talking, let's say it's Vin and Jill, we're talking and one person's too quiet, too loud. If that's just in one audio file, there's not much you can do. But I'm going to show you with this one easy trick how to fix that super easy in post. Now, Jill, you were driving like a mad person yesterday.
Yeah, I had such a great time playing Trackmania Stadium 2 on our practice stream yesterday because, well, I am improving. At least now I finish all the maps, and I even placed a few times, not in the top 5, but at least in the top 10.
Are you kidding me, man? You immediately started talking smack when you beat Nova, and you're like, what? Get down, scrub.
Yeah, I was nice. I beat a couple people on a couple of the maps. I was so happy because I've been coming in last these last few weeks, so it's nice to have victories.
You've been practicing though, and that's what we're doing. If you're unfamiliar with it, we have a Filthy Casuals thing for Trackmania 2 Stadium. We got a Linux server that I set up. And we do practicing from Tuesday through Friday. And Friday, we put everything to the test with a little bit of a points match. That's going to be going down at 7:30 p.m. this Friday. Everyone is welcome. It's open for our patrons and our Twitch subs. We got 20 spots. It's always going to, I'm not going to say forever because somebody's going to bring up that, like, how many kilobytes of RAM is more than you'll ever need. But I want to keep it to around 20 people. And I think we'll have 2 spots left open. So if that's your thing, check out the Trackmanias channel in our Discord for all the information. And I do want to point out, if you're listening, new month, we're being responsible, so we're going to be rotating the server password. So I got to come up with the brand new, fresh 80s television
A
show.
new old 80s show.
Yeah.
How about A-Team? No.
Oh, maybe. So, Jill, you broke the
Yes,
story.
yes.
You're going to tell everybody the final. We're going to put this to rest. We now know who is responsible.
Yes.
Who Satoshi
For
Nakamoto is.
Bitcoin. Yeah. So there was an article put out recently that asked, could Linux creator Linus Torvalds be Satoshi Nakamoto, the father of Bitcoin? Now, honestly, this has been actually speculated for years. But what has happened recently was Linus, at least apparently this article says Linus recently modified a single line in the Linux kernel which says name equal I am Satoshi. So is Linus joking with us, as he often does, or is this a confession? And honestly, Linus is actually a really great candidate for I am your father of the most famous cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. After all, he created the world's most used operating system in the world, Linux, and one of the world's most used distributed version control systems, Git. And a lot of people have speculated that Git may have spawned blockchain. But since this article released, there has been another one released that I think is a more reliable source that Ven will tell you about.
How dare you? How dare you? Reliable. There's nothing more reliable than a crypto blog. All jokes aside, expecting a crypto blog to really understand, I don't know, the basics of Git, kind of a big ask. I understand that. No, what's his name? Over at ZDNet, Stephen Von Nichols. He did something that was completely out of left field. He asked Linus, he's like, yo, are you Satoshi? And Linus says, you know what? I'm afraid that's just a jokester taking advantage of how GitHub works. I mean, it shares Git objects between different repositories, so you can use the SHA-1 name of an object to specify something you did in your own tree, then use my repository as the web name and make it look like your object is in my tree. So no, Torvalds is not the owner of a huge stash of original Bitcoins. Aww.
Although if he was, you couldn't say.
So
there's that.
Before I even got it out, Jill, I was like, oh, that's not going to stop the conspiracy theorists. They just opened up a fresh pack of red yarn and started making lines on their wall. And they're like, that's what Satoshi would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So either way, well, what do you think about that? I mean, even if Linus on his deathbed, he's like, it was really me. Psych. Like, yeah, all right.
Yeah. Who knows, right?
Good point.
Yeah.
Now, since we're smashing rumors and things that have been going around the internet, Dak wrote in, that's one thing you could do, a Patreon or a Twitch sub. We got a channel on our Discord and we're like, hey, you want to talk about this? You can drop in show suggestions. I'm not Englishing very well, and it's all my fault. This showed up, and Universal Audio, they make high-end audio interfaces. You see the picture for audio listening. You see some rack gear and some smaller gear. And there's been a petition going around because they want some Linux support. And you know what? I wouldn't mind it. As of right now, none of the Universal Audio equipment provides driver software support for Linux OS. True. Yeah. Now, you might be thinking, but what about the recently released Universal Audio Volt series? They do work on Linux because, again, they're glorified sound cards. They're USB audio interfaces. They have a class compliant mode, which we all have the strangest of bedfellows to thank for that, Apple. Because Apple said, if you want something to ever work with an iPad or an iPhone, it needs to be completely USB class compliant. You don't get to install drivers. And everyone grumbled and Apple went, we're Apple. What are you going to do? And so everybody started making devices and that's why we can kind of just plug them in and make them work. Now, this all starts from a representative from Universal Audio who came in and on a fan forum, they're listed as official UA rep. And they said, hey, hypothetically, if we could had 10,000 people that said, hey, we would like UAD support. And, I went reading through this post. And even the UAD rep said, man, this is just a fun little exercise. I thought this would be good for a laugh. And it kind of is. It was fun to read through this. And they even point out in the forum thread, you're thinking about these UAD interfaces. They're about $1,000 for the low end. The ones they're talking about. These are Thunderbolt interfaces. And, like I said, the cheap stuff's not being discussed. That works under Linux. Thanks, Apple. But I don't like how he handled it, because he was just saying this is a laugh. And later he goes on to clarify multiple times. He's like, don't bother with this petition. This is what he's trying to say without saying it. Oh. Even to the point of saying, we're only interested in, if somebody's going to file a petition, we're only interested from hearing from people who own UAD audio interfaces. Like randos on the internet signing a petition mean nothing to us. So there is that. And, I went digging around. And this official representative is, his name's Drew. He's a marketing rep at UAD. The first line of people that you're going to run into when approaching a company. And you're like, hey, can we work together, maybe develop some drivers? And you're like, no, Linux, bad, rawr, and go smash things and run out. However, I ran across a post from Paul. I always love reading stuff from Paul. Paul is one of the creators of Jack. He's the creator of Outdoor. You might have heard some of these things. Ooh. But he hits back with this, just kind of remembering the old days, because he was reading through this forum post as well. And it's like, yeah, this kind of reminds me of Motu, Mark of the Unicorn, way back in the day when the Linux community walked in like, hey, we'd like to write some drivers for you. And they literally referred to Linux users as, I quote, dirty little hippies, and sneered at me.
Aww. Oh, boy. They obviously aren't listening to the open source community.
They don't care. They don't have to, because, now, ironically, like later on, like these days you can buy Motu and class compliant devices. You can plug them in. They're going to work. They're not going to be a problem. Motu gets around a lot of this stuff, and I would recommend some like the higher end Motu stuff as well, because they have been really smart. It's just coincidence that this works, because all of their AVB series and the new ultralights have Wi-Fi and Ethernet web interface that you can just plug directly into, and you don't need any special software to get a hold of that. But he left out something in the Motu story that I just want to bring up real quick. That attitude from Motu back in 2002 was the reason that Motu's entire product stack was reverse engineered thoroughly. To this day. Now, I'm talking to the UAD folks. To this day, that has hurt Motu's sales. Why? Because Motu no longer gets to decide when a product is obsolete. They quit making Mac drivers. They quit making Windows drivers. We got open source drivers. We can make these things work as long as we need. So keep that in mind. Do keep that in mind. Yeah. And more importantly, support manufacturers that have official Linux support, like this guy. This guy,
absolutely.
Official Linux drivers. RME. Well, this is a digigram if you're wondering. And RME, they straight up, they've been supporting Linux for 20 plus years. Jill, you signed the petition. Oh, you're like, I don't care.
Yeah, I did. I didn't realize it was not a joke. And, and this is horrible that they wouldn't even, recognize this petition as something important, because if you get thousands of signatures, that should say something to the company. Hey, there are Linux users who would like to use your products.
They're not worried about no dirty little hippies are going to buy some UADs.
Yeah. That will change as soon as one of the production companies starts using Linux more for audio. Like in the film industry and television, that it's starting to happen.
Well, the problem with that is this is what they're using. They're not using
the other brands, yeah.
But you're 100% correct. This is you'll see a lot of Linux development like just pop up especially when a customer walks in like, yo, I need 500, 600 seats with this. By the way, we're running Linux. I'm like, okay, we'll make that work and we'll make it happen. So, as online petitions, and I get where UAD is coming from, but yeah, it's with the audio manufacturers, interface manufacturers, this attitude. It's sad not to have seen it change all these years later. It is still the get away, you dirty hippies. And Paul brings up a really good point later on in, a couple of posts down where he's saying it still boggles him that like as much control, like this locked in ecosystem that everybody wants to make with their plugins and their DAW, just have, I'm thinking like Pro Tools and stuff like that. Like, why haven't they latched on to Linux being something that they can mutate however they want to? Like they can build their own system. They won't be reliant on Redmond or Cupertino. Even Valve is like, you know what? We probably want to move our gaming stuff over to Hi Steam Deck. So yeah, maybe audio will catch up. But Mars, David Bowie has a laptop.
Yeah. So, U.S. and British-based Linux hardware vendor Juno Computers recently launched their highest-end gaming and content creation laptop yet, the Mars 15. This is a beast. It is the Mars 15 is an Ubuntu Linux 20.04 LTS powered laptop with very high-end AMD Ryzen CPUs and NVIDIA RTX GPUs, which is wonderful. And it comes in two models, and the base model starts out with an AMD Ryzen 7 processor, NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 graphics card, 16 gigs of RAM, and a 512 gigabyte SSD NVMe at $2,150. And, that's kind of comparable to other high-end laptops from other Linux manufacturers. So, honestly, that is just the normal price point for, these specs. And so they also have you can also pick an AMD Ryzen 9 processor, an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070 GPU, and up to 64 gigs of RAM, and a 2 terabyte SSD NVMe at $3,146. Now, again, these are normal prices for a workstation grade laptop. It's basically a laptop that is a portable workstation. And it's pretty sweet, actually. It has a 15.6-inch HD matte display with a 240 hertz refresh rate. So good for gaming as well.
I find this because you could say it's a little it's kind of chunky, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is, but it has an Ethernet port like you were having. Of course.
This is where I'm going because I saw the profile shot of this. Yeah, this is not a thin and light. Do not confuse this with an ultra portable. It's got gills on the side, and on the other side I'm looking at a full size, which is good to see, Jill. You're right about that. It's good to see a full size Ethernet port. But for that size comparison, you see how much distance is on top and below a full size Ethernet port. That thing reminds me of this Dell business laptop I used to have to carry around with me on airplanes all the time that weighed 1 billion pounds. So I think this is like what you were saying, a portable workstation. This is
it really is.
Yeah, a luggable, modern day luggable.
It's actually thicker than my Asus Republic of Gamers 17.3-inch laptop that's 10 years old.
5.95 pounds. You need a workout carrying it around. You get 2. That's what you should do. Buy 2. You don't want to.
Yeah, it is less pounds. Yeah, actually, my Asus RG is almost 8 pounds. So this is much lighter. Thank you, Juno.
I guess like one thing I will say is we were looking this up before we went live is it's only available with 2004 Ubuntu,
Yeah,
2004
it's
LTS.
interesting.
Like, all
Yeah.
right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but like having different options. But as I always say, step one, you get a PC from anyone, just wipe the drive and install whatever you want on it. So, but I'm
Yeah,
pretty
absolutely.
sure that support, when you call Juno up and they're like, you're on your Arch install and they're like, so yes, you gotta lie to them like you do on regular tech support when you're calling up for like internet issues. Like, yes, I've rebooted the router. Sure. Because you gotta work through the script. So keep that in mind. Now, this is kind of neat. This is
cool.
A minimum viable computer for $15. And then you're like, yeah, but then you see a picture of it.
I want this.
Then you see a picture of it. You're like, all right, yes, 100% I want one of these. Like a portable terminal is what we're looking at. And tell me about this keyboard, because that thing is nice. It's on both sides. It's like the old phones. Remember when we hadn't figured out that touch type?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I like it. It's got the split space bar, which is really nice. And this, that was the first thing that caught my eye, was that really nice keyboard. And but it's very tiny, but it's good for people with small hands. But actually, the keys are spaced apart, Vin, so that would be good for you too.
Yeah, full size USB A port, SD card, USB-C. I mean, that's going to be for charging. But a basic schematic laid out. I mean, yeah, we're 100%. We're talking about 48 keys of membrane fury.
Yeah.
What's it got under the hood though? It's got the all-winner F1 C1 100
all-winner
SoC. Yeah, 32 megs of RAM, 2.3 inch screen. That's small, but it still looks so neat. Now, this is where things get a little bit sideways. Does it really cost 15 wet, stinky cashes?
Yeah.
The answer to the big question. And if you could put an order in for 10,000 of each of the things, yes.
Yeah, it is speculation because you don't quite know until depending on how many orders.
Theoretically, right. I mean, this is kind of, just going to put another like, hey, 10,000 people want to get these. We can do it for like $14. I didn't have time. I wanted to do because the complete parts list is listed here. I wanted to see what it would cost to, do a small run like 10 or 15. I'm guessing it would be under $100. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But
it plays Doom.
Yeah. It can run Doom. Chocolate Doom is actually a default package and build root for this thing.
Yeah. So I think it's just so cool to have, basically this is a Linux terminal in your pocket. And, a lot of these little devices are usually wanting to put, a full GUI on them and on the little screen that are low powered. But this is actually intended just for terminal and coders and script writers and those of us who love Linux and like to stay in the terminal. So I want this to happen. So the fact that they put this out there, maybe someone else will copy it and actually put it in production because it is open source.
It is slick. Gamatron, yes, that's what it reminds me of. This thing's an Engage. You could probably make one of these.
That's it.
With a hollowed out Engage, but don't record that and put it on YouTube because the type of people that collect Engages will show up at your house. It will be nasty. It'll be all teeth and nails. FX Boy, yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking about. Portable terminal. You got it right there. And like having something like that, if I got to type a lot and I got to deal with something, like plugging into a box, it's so much better because, I know. What are you thinking? Like, but Vin, just install Tmux or whatever you want on your Android device. Tap, 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 tap. Oh, how do I disable swipe
exactly.
on this thing?
Yeah.
Special.
To have that real tactile keyboard.
Right.
And it has USB support, which is wonderful. So
and GPIO breakouts. So
yeah.
If you're
a terminal Raspberry Pi essentially with a keyboard.
That's what I went looking for. Does something like this exist for a Pi Zero? And I couldn't find anything with a keyboard. I mean, I found some things, but maybe it looked like stuff old man Vin would make with this first gen MakerBot printer, like some super chunky cases. I'm like, I wouldn't want to. This looks like something you'd put in your pocket and actually take out to show people.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. And with a functional keyboard, I have seen the Raspberry Pis that have the little miniature keyboards on the top hat.
Well, we covered that one that was like a Pi 4 that had the slide out. Here's my thing.
Yes.
Do they make mechanical switches that long? Maybe.
Yeah.
Because you think like little tiny, you could like a portable Anoyatron. You could
mod it. Mod it to be clicky keys. Yes, absolutely.
Super clicky keys.
We can make
play
them
a game to see how
brown or reds or blues.
Yeah, before someone slaps it out of your hand and you're like, yeah, I understand. Yeah. So there we go. Hey, speaking of pies, we got to talk about that. Before we do that, if you like what we do, you want to support us, head over to linuxgamecast.com. We got a support button. You mouse over it. There's support things. There's magical things like our Patreon. We'd really like it if you can hang out with us there. We got merch, PayPal. We got wish zones for the studio. Jill's got one. Pedro's got one. Jordan's got one. We even have cryptocurrency. If you're worried about like, hey, man, what do I do with this cryptocurrency now that it's crashed? I will spend it on studio equipment. Done.
Yes.
Now,
we've got lots of new patrons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
sure do. So we got George and we got Yannick, who we've been playing Trackmania with, and Phil 80, also who came over because of Trackmania. So, and Wimpy's World. They're from Wimpy's World. Martin Wimpress.
We've been
the culprit.
We've been having a good time with that. And yeah, it's kind of interesting. Just, I started that because it's a fun game. It's a simple game. There's up, down, left, right, and go and stop buttons. And it runs on a calculator because it's a game from 2013. It still looks the business if you got the graphics up.
It looks
on
nice.
It. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can have our own servers, which I've set up. And the problem was the only people left playing the game are just crazy good at this. And the maps on those servers reflect that to even, I consider myself moderately okay at the, Trackmania series. I get on those servers. I quit. I'm like, God, it just can't, these are just hard. They've reached the point of being hard for the sake of being hard. That's where they're at. And what happened to the fun tracks? So I've dug out some fun tracks and we change out the tracks each and every week. And it's great having people show up and experiencing it. But you got something in the post. Yeah,
I sure did. So Gamatron gifted me this cute pink plush penguin unicorn. It's a penguicorn. It's got a little horn and it's got a little rainbow mane. She got this for me from my Amazon wish zone. Thank you so much, Gamatron. Amazon. Thank you, Gamatron. I love
Banana
it.
nut.
And she and she gave me is going to have me read this nice note. It says, "Hi, Jill. I'm finally in a place to be able to get you something from your wish list. I know she's going to a good home from Gamatron." Aw, thank you so much, Gamatron. She's so sweet. She will go right next to my other pink penguins.
Do you know what would make
right
it
there
even
is the
sweeter?
one Pedro got me.
If it was,
and my other patrons.
If it was just filled, I don't know, with bees.
Bees?
Yeah.
No, I don't want it to sting me. It's soft and fluffy, and it feels good to the touch.
All right.
You don't want. And this one apparently can fly because it's a penguicorn.
Don't do drugs, kids. Thank you, Gamatron. For that, also George, Yannick, and Philo 8. That's how we do this thing. We have our business model is, hey, we were just going to do it. And I try to do a bunch of educational stuff for Linux, content production, gaming, and all that other stuff. Gaming's just get the kids. But we have a fun community. And we've been doing it for about a decade. And we just kind of put the stuff out. And if you like it, you can kick us a buck. That's kind of brilliant. We got some bonus things for patrons. Like we got an extra hour of content that we do, a pre-production show if you're interested in that kind of stuff. And this is just the middle of the show. show's usually about an hour and a half, 2 hours long, and we put that in podcast format, the Live and Uncut series, as a thank you. And I'll have a little sneak peek. It's not really a sneak peek. I'll tell you what I use it for. I'm like, spot all my typos and all the other things I mess up in videos before they go live to the general population. I put those up on Patreon and get everyone a sneak peek or a snack peek. I don't know what I call it, depending what kind of mood I'm in, so you can kind of look over it. And I'll be doing that with the OBS and our list sound card whenever that comes up. I'll probably post some Discord, sync your Patreon, or if you're Twitch sub, sync that to your Discord, and you can come hop in our land of scum and villainy. Yeah, it's just a bad place, Jill. It's horrible. No, it's very...
I don't think I'm full of scum and villainy.
No, our
but
Jill, that's our Discord. It's just...
Yeah. That's true. No.
It's not. We could probably have one of the most chill, active Discords, and
they're awesome.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's a great.
Love our group.
Great source of entertainment, and just a bunch of good people in there. Now, continuing with my knitted food product.
Oh, yes, we have a knitted pizza. Oh, that's very cute. It's a kawaii knitted pizza, like my kawaii penguin corn.
Next to a bottle of Ken's Steakhouse American flavor, a.k.a.
Oh,
ranch.
Yeah. Actually, the Ken's brand has good ranch. So that's a pizza pie, Vin. A stuffed pizza pie.
That's a knitted piece of pie, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, speaking of this pie, some pies are 32-bit, but fortunately, our long national nightmare is over. Raspberry Pi OS 64-bit is finally a thing. Thank you.
Woohoo.
Thank you. 64-bit Pi, it's been out for, for a while. I mean, quite a long time, actually. But it's always been in testing form, so it's used at your own risk. And sometimes that would come back and bite you. But, unfortunately, you cannot have 64-bit Pi with your Pi 1, 2, or 3, or the original 0. That's not going to be a thing. But 64-bit's official, so you can make use of that 8 gig without that little funky hack, which is kind of neat. There's a few gotchas that they point out in this post. All this is going to be in the show notes. But one of the big ones that they wanted to make everyone know, because if you were using like streaming services, what is it? What is that thing called? What is it? Widevine CDM? Yeah.
Widevine.
Yeah. That's 32-bit only, so they got some instructions like here's how you can change it back so you can watch your Disney Plus or whatever type of nonsense that you're watching that Netflix. Because your Pi is your media server, which I'm sure somebody's going to write in next week. That's great. I will love to read about it because I'm fascinated with that type of stuff. But I played with the 64-bit beta, and I would always run into like a gotcha. Like I have one work Pi that runs Bitfocus Companion, which powers the Stream Deck, which communicates with Threadripper over the network to control OBS. And I'm like, yeah, it's Debian 64-bit. Let's slap that guy on there. And I went to set up Bitfocus Companion, and it's like, nope, I'm constructed from the ground up 32-bit, and you're going to have to jump through all these hoops to manage this thing. And I'm just going to install 32-bit because I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So getting the nudge in the right direction, and see a bunch of projects moving over to 64-bit. Why? Because 64 is a bigger number than 32, therefore it is better. End of discussion.
Yeah. So, the Raspberry Pi Foundation honestly has continued to build their 32-bit Raspberry Pi OS to maximize compatibility between devices and to avoid customer confusion. So that's why, it's been in beta for a while, but now they're finally putting it out because they realize now we've got more powerful products that can take advantage of 64-bit. And even, I've run 64-bit Ubuntu, Manjaro, and Kali Linux on my Raspberry Pi 400 without a hitch. And I'm so happy that we're now going to have the official release of Raspberry Pi OS 64-bit. So it's about time. Woohoo!
I hope it's a smoother transition than when our first x86 64 from AMD came out.
Yeah.
Those days, because of course, I was a lot younger, and it's like 64-bit. I'm installing that. Why? Because it's a larger number. And I was running 64-bit Linux. It was CentOS well, not sent to us.
It was
Fedora Core 3 or something like that.
yeah, it was
in
3
there.
or 4. Yeah.
And which was great. Linux installed it, and I installed everything. And then I tried to play a video. Then I realized all the codecs were an M player. This is
only
how
made
long
for
ago
32.
it was. Everything was 32. There's no backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
So if Flash didn't work, I know Flash was still in back then. And hopefully this transition is going to be a bit smoother. And for those of you using Pis as desktops, because I know they do exist. Yes, Justin.
Yes.
Trust me, 16-year-old Vin, a billion years ago with the Nintendo 64, thought for sure we would have 128-bit, because remember when it was all about bits? Consoles
Oh, yes.
floating around.
Yeah, well, in 1995, we had a DEC Alpha that was 64-bit, and then they came out with the 128-bit. And then before they went under, they were going to put out a 256-bit processor. Where is it? I want it now.
Well, the whole idea of 64-bit, especially in my young years, always having Sun products around, like 64-bit has been around since the 90s.
Yeah, Sparks.
Yeah. Saber and all the fun stuff. Now everything's 64-bit, and the only people that are buying Itaniums are YouTubers. So it's kind of
As a trip down memory lane, I still have my Itanium.
Well, I mean, those are neat. I mean, I wanted an Itanium to play around. But then again, I mean, for the same reason that I want like a RISC-V to play around, I mean, I'd love to have IBM.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hi, IBM. If you're listening, I would like a Power 9 motherboard and CPU to play around with.
Yeah.
I would do lots of videos on that. But
oh, yeah, that would be great.
I can't justify dropping 10 grand for something to play
No.
with.
I do have a Power 5 and a Power 7 in my collection.
There we go. Hey, if you want to tell us about your collection, head over to our contact form at linuxgamecast.com where it says contact. I know there's a connection there. We got some topics. Just go ahead, select LWDW. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a name, email, subject, drop us a message, and we might, just might, read it on this show. Tell us.
Yes.
Send me some love backing my support for stuffed animals being filled with bees.
Oh.
They'll make lovely
Finn
noises.
doesn't like cuddly animals. He wants stingy ones.
Hey, I didn't say I said bees on the inside, man. Maybe like a back massager, but with more bees.
But so when you touch it, then they poke out because they want to get out of there, so they need to poke you.
Maybe they could be happy bees.
Yeah. Yes, bumblebees. I love bumblebees.
Man, carpenter bees are dope. Here's a quick aside before I roll the credits, man, because I always end up having one or two every year in the spring on the upstairs deck where it has wood around the top. They'll burrow in, and I leave them alone because I found out, one, they don't mess with people. They're just the big fat, like, doing their thing. And I'm like, that's my kind of bee. I aspire to be that kind of bee. And the other thing I learned after going to Google, they're highly territorial.
Yes.
So any other insect that gets within that vicinity, they will chase it off.
Mm-hmm.
There. Pro
Absolutely.
tip.
Even
Bet you
hornets.
Didn't expect to learn that. All right. We got to roll some credits. Thanks for showing up. We'll do a little bit of a post show.
Love you all, LGC fam.
Buttons. There
Yay.
we go.
Thank you, our wonderful patrons. Gosh, thank you again. Thanks again, Gamatron, for my penguicorn, plush penguin. And thank you too. We got FX Boy in chat. We got Justin. We got Oil of Hope. We've got Steve Husband. We got Strider in there. We got lots of wonderful people who are awesome patrons, giving their hard-earned cash to us.
I don't know, man. Maybe it wasn't hard-earned. Maybe, just maybe. They held up a house with a stuffed animal filled with bees. Yeah. We'll see you next week, beautiful people.
Love you all.
Unseen. All right, we got about 10 minutes to play around. That was good.
Yes. That was fun, Ben. That was a fun show.
All because of bees.
Yeah. Or Gamatron sending me the penguin unicorn. Aw. So cute. I've never had one with a mane, a rainbow mane on it. That is unique in my collection.
It even says RGBs.
Yeah. Yes, it does. It has RGB mane. Rainbow vomit mane. Yeah, Justin, you've been here for a long time.
Come on, man. You want to
Mir.
publicly admit that? Really? All right. So let me pull this back, and I think everything was fine. Oh, come on, Mixbus. Quit doing this. Sometimes Mixbus is like, you know what? I don't feel like scrolling through the timeline.
Oh, joy.
There it goes. It got it out of its system.
It had that slight pause before it would move the chunk.
Well, I don't argue with it too much because I still need to do a video on how I'm using it over X11 with hardware acceleration. Because every time I explain that to somebody, like, no, I can't deal with a VPN because everyone assumes it's, you've used like remote access software before. It's a bad experience. This is not the problem. You don't have this issue with X11 forwarding over SSH. It's there. You're using the actual program. You're not using, a capture of the desktop encoded to video that you're interacting with that delay. I mean, it's there. You know what I'd really like to get in Mixbus's system? Not an Athlon. What am I had a good laugh today. I absolutely did. What is my save searches on eBay? Nobody let me buy anything on eBay while I'm on eBay.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, this. Look at this nonsense. Okay, so Threadbooper has a Ryzen 1700 in it. The OG Ryzen. Not the X, but 1700. So I want to get rid of the video card in there because I don't use the video card in it. It's just there because the motherboard will not boot without a video card. Which is like, grr. So I want a APU like the original Ryzen. And what I was looking at, the fastest thing I can put in that motherboard is a Ryzen 5 3400G. How much would you think such an old CPU?
Oh, right now?
3400G first gen
$200?
Ryzen
No,
with
I
Mega 11.
haven't looked.
If you get lucky. 200.
Oh, wow.
400.
It's
290.
amazing. I have two machines with the 3400 in it.
It's just.
Oh my gosh.
It's ridiculous. This is an antique CPU.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
I genuinely, when I first went looking for one of these things, I expected maybe if I got a nice one that still had a box with it, I'd pay $70 for it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, I was looking at the price of my 2700X that I bought a couple years ago, and that was selling for $300. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh.
I might take you up on that, Justin. I might.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, I guess that is close to like a playable. I mean, that is like super low end CPU too. Now, the other thing is this might all go out of the window, depending on if this thing works or not. Because Might notice this is PCIe. This is not PCI like my current card.
Yeah. Okay.
So I might be building a completely different Jackbox because options are open now. I'm not limited to a motherboard that has PCI slots on it. I know. So let's see. I thought this was kind of cute.
Oh.
If you're good at something, you never do it for free. Talking about curious parenting.
that was funny. I saw your tweet on that.
I don't know what's been going on lately, but I've been getting a ton of spam. That the problem is, evolution is just can't figure it out normally. Evolution is, you train it like you do Thunderbird. You say this is spam, and usually within
you go through
a week or two, it starts just auto-nuking thing. This latest round, it just can't figure it out.
Bad. I've noticed that too. Yeah. And in Gmail, the spam's getting through Gmail now more, so I'm having to more aggressively go through it, my main inbox, and that's annoying because for years I didn't have to bother with it.
And you still got to go through it. And that's like the problem, because you never know what's going to end up in there.
I know. I've had lots of things recently that weren't spam that got thrown in there.
Because that does happen. I mean, just make sure you also check like the spam folder in Google. Because I found some like, oh boy, I'm glad I checked that.
Yeah, I know. I had for instance, I had to renew my server membership that I have. I've got a server with lots of space and my old website on and whatnot. And I didn't get their notification, and then I realized, wait a minute, I haven't heard from them anymore in a while for payment, and it turns out, yes, it was in spam. So it was a bill I needed to pay.
See, this is why I was ecstatic when the concept of auto pay finally just showed up everywhere.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because my service, I usually pay every 5 years, and I thought I had paid that again last year, but apparently not. It was still on yearly, so I have to change that back, so I don't have to worry about it.
What is that, Arthurian? Is that a pie case? I can't.
Nice. Very cute. Let me look at that Twitter.
Oh, it looks 3D. Oh, it is 3D printed. Welcome to the future where you look at something and you're like, that's 3D printed. Yeah. USB-C, is that a Pi Zero? What? No, that's...
Oh, yeah, it's tiny.
Does it have like a breakout board or something? I don't know. I'm confused. Yeah, I decided against buying a new 3D printer. I was going to, man, but that's...
I remember.
Nothing good to come from that.
Yeah.
One thing potentially good would come from it, but then I'd be going around looking for things to 3D print. Yeah, it looks like a Pi 4. I'm confused about... I don't know. I don't remember what the Pi 4 looks like because I put it in that Argon case that had the breakout board that put all the I.O. on the back of it. Like, I only saw my Pi 4 once or twice. Yeah. There's only one thing see, the printing's the easy part. When I finally break down and like build and software the thing that I want to build, then maybe I'll consider it, but I'll probably just send it off somewhere to have it printed.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's so easy to do that now. Just send your model out.
Right. But yeah, I don't want to, I want a 3D printer in my life, but we're not going to put one in my life right now. That's,
Yeah.
see, that is me even trying to explain to the audience right now, fighting my adultness. Like, I really would like to play. Like, no. Things to do. Exactly.
Oh, yeah, Gamatron. Yeah. I have the pen, too. That is very convenient. In fact, I need to get more. Yeah, I need to get more wax for that. More plastic.
I remember seeing like the demo videos of the pen, and it's like, oh, I get, like, no, you're not going to get one. Why? Because you're going to do that once and give it away. I'm like, yeah, probably.
Effects boy. Aw.
I know, you got to recalibrate things and put them on a perspective. I'm the adult of the group. If that shifts things around for you mentally, yeah. We don't all get to work at toy companies, Steve.
But Ven gets to play with all his audio and video toys. You get to play with toys too, Ven.
See the difference between playing? Playing would be, I don't know, like buying things and playing with them and not documenting the process of like setting them up and doing guides, fully produced videos. All that other stuff that's not playing with it, that's the adulting part, kids.
Yeah.
I don't have any. I do have. Somebody give me a Voltron action figure. They gave me the Black Lion.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like all mangled up. I don't know where they got it. They found it on the side of the road.
Oh. Yeah, I remember liking Voltron.
Everything is a toy. That's right. Listen, this is like...
Absolutely.
Auto manufacturers have had a hard time trying to figure out, like, why is a Tesla so popular? Because it's the coolest electronic toy that you can buy. See, there's Steve for no reason. Hi, Steve.
Yeah.
I like to
He's
imagine...
got his toy shirt on.
Was that his toy shirt?
Toy makers, yeah.
Toy makers. Aw. Nerd. That's cool, man. Yeah, you can, every now and then Steve gets a, Sherry bit at him and he'll post some stuff that he's working on in Discord. He's full of arts and crafts. AT&T.
He sure is.
Has got really good prices on their 2 gig and 5 gig service. Don't even joke about that stuff, man. Like anybody who's had something thoroughly super glued to them on accident before, they don't want to see that picture.
Yeah. Yeah, he's gotten better about it, but since that's his livelihood is building toys, he has to use super glue a lot, so it kind of happens. But he's gotten better. You know, he's so careful. He hasn't had that happen to him that often.
The best thing to happen to super glue
but all his coworkers,
is gel.
Sometimes he has to help his coworkers get the super glue out of their fingers.
It's like the two things I've learned about super glue over the years, over the decades, is one, for home use, for non-regular use, even though it is extraordinarily wasteful, it's really not, is the little individual, little tiny ones. Get those in gel format. I know, but you can buy a big thing of, yes, that you will use exactly once, because the second time, if you buy a regular sized thing of super glue, a larger one, it'll be dried out by the time you get back to it the second time.
Yeah.
Also,
well, that's
gel.
why you got to put it in the freezer, Ven.
This is why you buy
That's the
individual
trick.
use ones.
Yeah.
So
But
you
there
don't
is
have
a
to
trick.
worry about like super glue off-gassing in the same box your food is in.
Yeah, Steve husband knows how to preserve it for like
Steve.
20, 30 years.
Steve, please tell me you have a separate refrigerator for that?
No, no, we put it in the door of the refrigerator.
In the zip-
He's got
oh,
some elixirs in there.
Well, I'm learning things like Steve thinks Ziploc bags are airtight. They're not.
Yeah. But that's a true story. That's where he puts the super glue.
That explains a lot about you two, then.
It's fine.
I use that excuse myself, Steve, so I'm not going to give you a hard time. But I was like, yeah, it's fine. It won't kill me immediately. Oh, man. All right, everyone. I got to get to work. I got a bunch of stuff to do this afternoon on top of everything else.
Okay.
So, thank you again for showing up. We'll have this out and about on the YouTubes. And a reminder, if anybody wants to take a look at that, I'll post that tomorrow publicly. So there's your
Nice.
filthy casuals. If you want to take a look at that nonsense in the Trackmanias and channel. Cool. See you next week.
Bye, everyone. Love you, LGC fam.
Forget about it. There it is. Ha.
There we go.